Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham, with my wife, Nathalie Blackham. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're live on the YouTube TV platform, and you might be seeing us at a later date, whether you're seeing us on YouTube or a later date. We welcome you across the world to the land of Israel. We're broadcasting to you today from our studio in Jerusalem. And we welcome your comments, and indeed I've got some comments to read out today. So if you'd like to send us your comments, then please do. You can do that live on the YouTube using the chat, which I believe is on the right of your screen. You can use the chat box and tell us where you're watching and where in the world. And if you've got any questions when we're going through the news and different things. Well, one of the amazing things is the technology that we can come to you live. I mean, absolutely amazing, Natalie, that we can be with you today in your homes. Thank you so much for the comments that are coming in. Brenda from Wales says, yes, we who align with Israel are used to fake news. And we were talking about the importance of bringing you news from Israel, bringing you correct news that's been checked. And she says, with Israel, I used to hearing fake news about Israel, and now it's hitting the rest of the world. So thank you so much, Brenda. I hadn't forgotten. Thank you so much for your comment. Appreciate that. And also, we had a comment from Charlie in the Wirral in the United Kingdom. He said, we watched your broadcast. You said that you would discuss the vaccine that everybody's talking about now, but you missed out. So I haven't forgotten, Charlie. We ran out of time on the last episode, and so we'll have a look at that today. Thank you so much for letting us know about that. Appreciate your comment, Charlie. And if you'd like to send your comments in, do that now. Also, if you'd like to email us, you can do that at info@israelfirst.org. Well, according to headline news, over 12,000 people in Israel tested positive for COVID-19, Natalie, after receiving the vaccine. Listen to that, folks. Over 12,000, and not everybody is talking about this news, receiving the vaccine. More than 12,400 people have tested positive for coronavirus COVID-19 in Israel after getting inoculated by the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, including people who'd had the second jab. The country is currently in our third lockdown at the moment, and the infection rate is still very high in the country, despite the fact that we've had a lockdown. I think some people are getting kind of lockdown crazy, and not everybody is so strict about the lockdown now, which you can understand. It says more than 500,000 cases have been reported, and nearly 5,000 people have died in Israel since the beginning of the pandemic. Nachman Ash, Israel's coronavirus commissioner, said that Pfizer's vaccine was less effective. Listen to this. This is what he said. Less effective than we had thought. And he was saying it's possible that there will be a fourth vaccine.
I hope, no, fourth lockdown.
Fourth lockdown, yes.
Yeah, fourth lockdown. And we are still in the third one.
Yes.
And I don't know, did they make a decision today?
No, but you're jumping the gun, because I'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about the whole of the lockdown. I've got some news for you live from Israel.
Because we're still in a lockdown.
In the third lockdown we're in at the moment.
We've been the country who's been the longest with a lockdown, and which means that we have to stay at home. You can go to do your shopping, you can go to do things that you really need to go, like if you have an appointment at the hospital or whatever, you can go to do that. But all social life is out of the window.
And it's interesting because it's Israel National News reported that there was a coronavirus outbreak at Ichilo Medical Center, which is the main hospital serving Tel Aviv and the third largest hospital complex in the country. 10 members of staff tested positive for COVID-19 after receiving the vaccine, both doses.
I know, because a lot of people, we were speaking with one of our daughters, and she said, yes, I know, ma'am. It doesn't mean that you can't infect people when you have the vaccine, but a lot of people think that that's it, vaccine, miracle thing, and after we will be okay, but we're still not okay. And here, the number is still very high.
Yeah, it said, Israel National News said, Natalie, at least 10 members of staff at Tel Aviv's Ikilo Medical Center have tested positive after receiving the second dose of the vaccine. Never mind the first dose, they've had 2. According to Israel's Channel 13 News, which is not far from where we're broadcasting today, the group tested positive 10 days after receiving the second dose of the coronavirus vaccine. The hospital has decided, because of this, the hospital in Tel Aviv, to test anyone exposed to coronavirus, even if they've received the vaccine. And you know,
it's not really straightforward at all.
No, and you know, I would hasten to add caution to anybody who's considering to have it, mainly on the basis of the fact that it hasn't been tested. And this is what I'm going to talk about next. It says, according to Israel's CTEC News, International Human Experimentation Oversight Committee, some people, you may have heard of it, it's called the Helsinki Committee, wants to approve the Israel-Pfizer data sharing deal. Now, there's a deal being done by Israel with Pfizer, that's the vaccine maker, to get an early supply of this Pfizer vaccine, because of course there's different ones, as you know. Israel's Ministry of Health recently published an edited version of the contract it signed with drug maker Pfizer for the exchange of public medical data. Listen to this. In other words, they give you the vaccine, but you have to give all the data. When I say data, I mean all the information, in return for the swift supply of COVID-19 vaccines. The deal was entitled Real-World Epidemiological Evidence Collaboration Agreement. Details of the legal and logistic workings of the collaboration. The agreement has come under criticism by privacy rights activists who claimed Israel was sharing personal medical information without securing the participants' permission. Very serious, really, serious situation for Israel. And Israel National News says, has run the story as well. It says the deal, vaccines for Israelis data. In other words, we give you the vaccines, but you give us all the data. Israel's Pfizer deal drives quick rollout amid privacy worries. Israel has paid a price for an early supply of the vaccines and struck a strange deal, vaccines for data. The vaccines for data trade-off has sparked impassioned debate in Israel amongst data privacy experts, biotech researchers, and the country's own medical ethics board, weighing the potential benefits of mining the population for vaccine insights against the potential abuse of personal medical records. Now, personal medical records are very important because they have all your private details on of your medical background. And how many people want to share that to be just shared publicly?
But at the same time, I know like Magen David Adom, which is like the ambulance services, emergency, they have already, when somebody is in the ambulance and they need to have details of the background, the medical background, they have it. So obviously, again, this is a good thing if it's used in the right way.
But we're not talking about the ambulance having it. We're talking about it being a public, and being shared with a private company.
Yes,
that's the concern.
Yeah.
I think it's fine for Magen David Adom, which, by the way, we've done an interview with them, and you can watch that below on one of the videos below. The important thing is that the data isn't shared with just willy-nilly.
What I'm speaking again is like about, we can see the evolution where we are going with the information, maybe it's my French name who's coming up. And because of that, there is some very good things that are happening, but at the same time, it depends again how it is used. And we say that all the time. Now, you know, I was thinking today, you carry on after, but I was having a little thought today, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, because I feel the pressure with all the things that we are reading, and like we can see, and I receive also some other articles, it's not only in Israel, but like in Germany, they are going to do things also the same type, and in Switzerland, And this reminds us also Nazism. It reminds, it's like we have a history of things that people were taking the data of the people very precisely and not using it for the right thing. And today I was like, oh my gosh, and also we take the time to pray. And suddenly I had these thoughts, was like positive thoughts saying, but you know what? It's like all of that is because we are coming into the redemption. And there is something that God has to undone before coming into a new era.
Right. And it's very important that we understand that these things are happening, like there's an order of things happening in the end times. But we still need to be careful about all the things. And this is what the Israeli Democracy Institute's Tehila Schwartz Adschuler said. She's a privacy advocate. She said, we need to understand that Israel's agreement with Pfizer is going to be one of, I would say, the widest medical experiments on humans in the 21st century. Shocking, really, she said, as she's questioning the Pfizer deal. So, the medical experiments on humans begins to sound like the Nazis and the Second World War. So this isn't something good. I understand some people will say, well, it's very good in one way. Yes, it's true. It's very good that that people can be safe from this disease. But what is the cost of that, and what's happening to the data? So it's something to keep our eye on. I know a lot of you are concerned, and so it's. I would say at the end of the day with the vaccine, it's something you need to be very careful of because of the testing. Literally, just because of that, we don't know.
Experimental testing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not been tested, in my opinion, long enough for us to know.
I mean, I was a nurse before, and like for vaccine, it takes 15, 20, 30, 40 years to make a vaccine, okay? This one is not a year. Or, it's like maybe just a year. But this is, something is wrong.
Yeah, and so I hope that answers your question, Charlie, and from we're all. Please keep sending your questions in, and we love to hear from you, and it really helps us to focus on what the needs are and what you need to know about Israel. And don't forget, it's because of your support that we're able to come to you today. You can get in touch with us. I will put on the video underneath the link, a link how you can donate, because I know for a lot of you this is a very important program. So I'll put a link underneath how you can donate and support the program. Enable us to come live to you today from our studios in Jerusalem. Now, Israel National News says the Israeli government is to discuss today, that's at the time we're coming to the studio, extending the lockdown until the end of the weekend. Israel's government will meet today to discuss whether to continue this strict lockdown, which we've had, and that is set to expire tomorrow. Israel's cabinet
Friday.
Israel's cabinet of coronavirus experts has recommended that the exit from the lockdown take place in at least 2 stages, separated by at least 2 weeks. The cabinet has also recommended that only vaccinated teachers, with coming back to the vaccine again, return to frontline teaching, and those who are unvaccinated continue via Zoom. In fact, our grandson has been having his lessons via Zoom. They also have recommended reopening preschools in grades 1 to 2 in green zones using the capsule method. In yellow areas, the experts recommend only reopening preschools through 2nd grade on condition that everyone be tested for coronavirus on a weekly basis. Regarding grades 11 to 12, they recommend testing everybody on a weekly basis, and later on only allowing those who are vaccinated to return in person to school. Again, coming back to this pressure that there's been exerted on people to have the vaccine. Earlier, the Military Intelligence Directorate Information and Knowledge Centre warned that reopening schools would lead to another rise in the infection rates and a resurgence of the virus. Israel's health ministry believes restrictions should only be eased on Monday, while Blue and White, the political party, is pushing to ease restrictions starting tomorrow. There may well be a compromise under which The restrictions will be eased beginning on Sunday morning. Meanwhile, whilst all this is happening, 181 people sadly have passed away of coronavirus since Sunday, since just in this short few days, and an average of over 7,000 new cases per day are diagnosed. In addition, the number of infants aged under 2 who are diagnosed with coronavirus has skyrocketed from 377, Natalie, in November to 5,780, nearly 6,000 in January. Last week, a 2-month-old infant very sadly died from coronavirus. So
I know,
in Israel.
I know, but when they say that again, we need to be careful because yes, he had coronavirus, but he had a very important surgery, and so he was weak, and so he had over that corona, and because of that he died. So again, we need to know the background, but yes, we can start to see it also with children. You know, it's interesting because in Israel, like in the world we call it pandemic, but when you look in Hebrew is magifa, which is plague, which is very interesting because how the people speak about the thing in here in Israel, like the Hebrew language, again, we always speak about that because it's so important, it's very precise, and it just speak about a plague, okay? And we know in the Bible, when something goes wrong, one of the things that God does when he's displeased is like sending a plague. He is allowing a plague for people to start to think, hey, something is wrong somewhere. Maybe our behavior, maybe the state of where we are in the world, and maybe we need to think about that. And I think this is very important that we think about this thing. It's not just like, oh my gosh, there is a plague, and what are we going to do about it? It's like, yeah, what am I going to do? And we're saying, like, we are praying, and we're praying the Psalms, so we are looking. Interesting enough, if you are interested in the Bible code, there is a lot of very interesting research who is done about that, and there is a man who is called Mattiyahu Glazerson, okay, and he does some YouTube, and he speak about the code, and you can see Corona, and you can see Magifa, the plague, and you can see also in the middle of all the thing, you can see what's happening in America, you can see the year of this year with the Jewish calendar. So there is a lot of things speaking about also salvation, speaking about the Mashiach coming, the Messiah. So there is a lot of things that's happening right now. And we know that. I think in our spirit, all of us, isn't it? We know, and it's like, I have another friend, and we're like, sometimes we phone each other, and it's like, okay, what's happening? What is the things behind? Like you are speaking all about the data, like people taking now, like there is big organization who are really taking over Facebook, Google, we heard about all these things, and like people are really interested in these things. But again, we need always to put it back with the Torah, with the Word of God, what is God saying at the time. I have a great story because we hear a lot of sad story, I would say. I have a great story.
Well, serious stories.
Serious stories, yes. You know that the Ben Gurion is, the airport here is closed and is still be closed for at least 2 weeks. And so nobody can come in and out, only very, very few for very specific purposes, usually or people who die or because of health, but it's very short, not very many people. And so we know that we have many people who are tourists who wanted to come here and they still can't. And you know what? It's almost a year now than we had more and more restrictions. So there is 2 young men, Jewish, who live here in the land, and because they are also in lockdown, and they are using their brain saying, where can we go, what are we doing, and they know how tourists wants to come, and they created a new game which is called the Way of the Patriarchs, which is wonderful because it's a real game. When I say real game, it's like from Israel. and is from the way of the patriarchs. It was the road, is the road 60, which goes from Beersheba at the bottom to Hebron, Jerusalem, Bethel, Shiloh, all the way to Nazareth, because very interesting, not so many people know that the road of the patriarchs and in Nazareth, goes through Nazareth. I think it goes even higher. And so this game is for the family to be together, to have the Bible also together, and to learn about the Bible. 80%, Martin, of all that's happening in the Bible was on this road.
So do we have to shake a dice or something?
Yeah. And it's a bit like the other game, Trivial Pursuit, but this is like a biblical one, and it goes with the Bible. It's been made also specifically for the Christian. And so he goes, when you arrive in Nazareth, Martin, is like the end of the game. Right. He's like for the annunciation of the Messiah, which is quite interesting, because I think this game is also like very much about the redemption. Like people are turning their eyes to Israel. They want to know what's happening here. And this is really a book, a game which is very interesting. So is Amit Barak, to give a bit of the background, is Amit Barak and Amos Eyal, who created this board game. And if you want to know more, you go on their website, which is G Innovation. Okay, and G Innovation, and if you put Way Over the Patriarch, you will find it.
What we'll do, folks, is we'll put a link for their.
You're right. Yeah.
A link underneath the video,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can click on that if you'd like to have a look at the game and find out more information about that.
So it's for family to be together. It speaks about the Good Samaritan. It's not just to win, but it's to do some good deeds in the midst of learning. And you have the highway, and you have the desert way, and you have the Jordan way. It's very, very interesting. You really, really, really learn about Israel and what's happening, and the country, the towns were very important during the time of the patriarch. And obviously the patriarchs, you know who they are: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And if you want to tell us how you're spending the lockdown, then you can always email us, or you can even do it live now whilst we're doing the program. If you email us, don't forget to use our email address, which is info@israelfirst.org. You can also visit the website www.israelfirst.org for a lot more information, and indeed to see videos like we're doing today, or to find out further information. And there's also, Nathalie, if you go to the media button on the website, there's also, I'm doing a daily news feature, and as well as that, we're doing a new news feature on gab.com. So if you want to register with gab.com, you can follow us, and you can get daily news from Israel.
Very good.
Now, the amazing thing is, in the middle of the lockdown in Israel, we're having a lot of buildings going on. The construction, it seems there's construction everywhere, doesn't seem to have been affected by the lockdown, as far as I can see. If that's not right, you can tell me. There are cranes everywhere, and they've just started the completion of the mountain tunnels for Jerusalem's new entrance road. It's nearly ready. In the newest development of the years-long effort to open a new entrance to Jerusalem to alleviate congestion at its main Road 1, the mountain tunnels for the new Route 16, it's going to be called, have been dug out. In Route 16's construction project, double tunnels for passage into Jerusalem were completed, each approximately 1.5 kilometers long. Route 16 is intended to progress from Route 1's Motzah interchange straight to the center of the city, close to Sher Sedek Medical Center and the Givat Mordecai neighborhood. The billion-shekel highway aims for completion sometime during 2022. I know that sounds a long way away, but in the middle of everything, It's amazing that we're getting this huge highway completed. Massive tunnels were just one of the portion of a long list of tasks, including the casting of exit bridges, the completion of the Rivda interchange, including a control structure, and the installation of traffic management systems, all necessary in order to complete the project. The highway will be 6 kilometers in length.
Wait, we have somebody from Malaysia. Hi, Sheila, who want to say hello to you.
Yeah, hi
Wonderful.
Sheila, thank you for your message. Great to hear from you. And tell us what's happening in Malaysia if you're in lockdown. This is going to go in two directions. It's a huge highway, and many of you who've been to Jerusalem may know that it's, you know, the roads are getting very busy, and one of the main problems is traffic. If you look on your Google Maps, you'll see that Jerusalem, you know, there's a lot of traffic there, and so this is very, very important. Speed limit will be 110 kilometers per hour. I'm not sure what that is in miles per hour. The project was a massive one, aggravated by the difficult terrain leading up to Jerusalem. It's a huge mountain they've had to dig into, and you can see, you know, it's something we've seen regularly when we've been able to. Before the lockdown, we were going into Jerusalem, and it's 100,000 cubic meters of earthworks, the equivalent, Natalie, of 800 Olympic swimming pools.
Amazing.
And it's a cooperation between the Transportation Ministry and a private Italian company. So
Now, when you say that, this is interesting because it's true. We can see Jerusalem being transformed, and there is so much more road and make it easier for the people because there is more and more traffic. And I'm just thinking, wow, my gosh, you know what? This is part of the redemption. This is part, and I was really thinking this week, when Messiah is going to come here, how is it going to be? Like in real, you know, in real reality. So just give us if you have some thoughts. But like for me this week, it was like, how will it be life when Messiah will be here? Because it will be a reality very soon. We don't know, but I think very soon.
very, very good to be with you today. We've really enjoyed sharing with you some of the things that are happening in Israel. A lot more information on the website. You can find out things, and you can watch a repeat of this program and see what upcoming programs we're going to be doing. You can also email us. We'd love to receive your emails at info@israelfirst.org, and contact us. Let us know what's concerning you, if you've got lockdown wherever you are in the world, or if you've got questions about what's happening in Israel. We'd love to hear from you. So from Natalie and myself, we say shalom, shalom, and see you next time on the Israel First TV program.